And so I was 8 years old or so, and we're in Fort Worth, Texas, visiting the Grands, as they call them. Not to be confused with Grands Biscuits, aka manna from heaven,
Amen.
But-
Amen.
but the Grands from the maternal side, you know what I'm saying? And so we're visiting the Grands, and much to my surprise, there were some tickets to the Dallas Mavericks that were received, that were given to us, put in our possession, if you will. And I don't know if you remember this as a Grizzlies fan, but there was a moment in Dirk Nowitzki's career where a man came down on his two front teeth and lodged into Dirk's elbow. Does this story sound familiar to you?
I don't know if I know this one, but once you get further into it, I'm sure I'll know the circumstance.
Well, Dirk and this guy, it was a basketball play. They were playing basketball, and this guy's front teeth goes straight into the Dirk's elbow, and one of his teeth gets stuck in his elbow. So, as you can imagine, another man's tooth in the elbow is probably not healthy for you. You know, it'll probably mess up your blood a little bit. I'm no scientist and I'm no nurse and I don't work at a hospital, but I'm just saying, usually another man's teeth and your blood cells don't mix well. That's all I'm saying. And so Dirk did like Dirk does, and Dirk got an elbow patch. All right, he actually missed quite a bit of time, but the point of me telling you that was because the game we went to, Dirk had his elbow patch on. And you know, we've kind of talked about how Hoodie Mellow, he goes off, he goes crazy, Linsanity. You know what I'm saying? Well, we're going to call this Elbow Dirk. Dirk with his elbow patch. This is the game we're at. So Dirk has been out for a time. He was actually frightened that his elbow had been infected. Because once again, you put another man's tooth in your bloodstream. It's probably not good. But that elbow patch was on. Jason Terry, if you remember Jason Terry, he wore the headband. Very small man. I mean, he's larger than us, but still very small relative. But absolute sharpshooter. Right. Yeah. Well, they go off, and it's just fantastic. But I tell you, Dirk, he came with a vengeance. I mean, after you get another man's tooth in your arm, you got to come back and you got to play hard. And he did that. I think he dropped like 70 points, 35 rebounds, something crazy like that. I think he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's understudy. But I tell you all of that because I've decided to wear my Dirk Nowitzki jersey tonight. And for our listening only audience, well, check out our YouTube or Spotify and you'll be able to watch. But I'm gonna stand up here for a second. You see 41 here. That's Dirk's number. Allow me to turn around.
It says Nowitzki on the back.
And it says Hardwood Classics, Authentic, Mitchell and Ness.
That means it's really real.
Yes.
Maybe definitely even game worn.
He did. So you didn't let me finish my story. Dirk took this off his back and we did a jersey swap. So, of course, I was wearing a t-shirt and he gave me his jersey. He took my t-shirt. It's also not every day you see a 7'1" German man with an elbow patch take his shirt off for you. And so that was also special. But I'll be honest with you. That's nearing 17 years ago. Can you believe that?
I'm just trying to imagine a 7'1" tall guy taking his shirt off. That's what my mind is still stuck on that.
Don't imagine it
That's
too
a lot
long.
of torso.
He's known for his large torso. Me, on the other hand, I've been born with short torso and long legs. I'm proportionally challenged.
Right. It's like, you ever seen the movie Hoodwinked?
I have not.
What? You serious? Like the animated movie with the grandma, she snowboards, she's in the gang. It's got, Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf.
Maybe, but I don't really
Oh my
remember.
goodness.
Is it Disney Channel or something?
No, Disney Channel. Dude, I did not watch Disney Channel growing up, all right, first and foremost.
So it's FX.
It's just a movie. It's just a movie that came out.
Fairly naughty.
Not at all. I think it's G, honestly.
Oh.
G rated. But there's a detective, and he's a frog, and his name's Flippers. And he's about 80% of his body is legs, just really long, skinny legs. And then the rest of his body is torso and head.
That pretty much describes me.
That's what comes to mind.
You should see me. You know how grandpas pull up their pants and keep it? Yeah. If I did that, I would actually be Flippers.
Oh, goodness.
Well, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind. And that question's got to be, what have the past 7 days been like? Have you done anything interesting, not interesting, or anything in between?
Well, let's see here. Monday, I got up and went to work. You know what I mean? That's really something that we've all got to do. And on Sunday nights, we've talked about the Sunday scaries. I don't particularly get the Sunday scaries. I just get the Sundays, the Sunday nights, not really wanting to go to work the next mornings. But yeah, I mean, we get up on Monday morning and we go and we do it, right? You get up and you go to work. You don't always get up and go to fun. You know what I'm saying? That's an old saying that was told to me once or twice. But Monday and Tuesday were pretty basic, I'll be honest. Wednesday, I got to go back to my old project at the hospital that we finished a few months ago. We had kind of a little warranty deal out there where I went out there and it pretty much involved checking a bunch of screws to make sure they were tight. And that's what I did all day Wednesday and Thursday. My hands were raw from changing out bits in a screwdriver. Obviously, the coworkers, lots of innuendos, when all you're stuck in patient rooms going through every single screw. Lots of, oh man, this is really screwed up. Just the puns were abounding, as you can imagine. So that was my Wednesday and Thursday, man. I wish I had more content, but it was really just incredibly repetitive. And I've said it before, I don't really work for the weekend, but in this particular instance, I definitely have my sights locked on the weekend. I took Friday off, had a long weekend. You and your brother and your brother's significant other, Julia, and also your parents came in town. So it was really the whole crew was there. Golly, it was a fun time. I'm sure in your week you'll get into it as well, but I'm trying to remember all that we did. There was pickleball involved. There was walks. We built a day bed together. That was on Friday night. right? Yeah, Friday night. And also, for our subscriber only content, we've got a little tutorial in there about how to build a daybed. So if you're ever wondering that, or if you're curious about what we do late at night when we're trying to, construct things, we've got some pointers and some tips that'll probably help your IKEA build go a bit more efficiently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, tips are an understatement. We basically give you the keys to the kingdom, metaphorically
Yeah.
speaking.
You are the king of the castle when you watch that video.
Yeah. And some there were some things promised to some of our listeners, from some of our subscriber-only listeners, of course, with that daybed in mind. So be sure you watch that video when it's up. Get excited, my friends. Get excited, I said.
For sure.
Onward.
For sure. No, but yeah, that was great, man. I was supposed to go to St. Pete on Thursday, and I was going to get donuts so that we could do a donut taste test, a little head-to-head competition. But my meeting got pushed to tomorrow, Monday. So sadly, I didn't get to go by my my favorite donut shop up there. Trying to think. Saturday. What do we do Saturday? I don't want to cut into your week, but it's tough whenever they run together like this. And I'm really having a serious brain lapse. Yeah, tell me, what do we do?
Saturday we woke morning. Up. We hung some pictures. We had breakfast. We walked, etc., etc. Did some golfing.
Yeah. Saturday was really, I think on Wednesday, Molly had went to the store and she was like, oh, I'm going to get eggs, grits, bacon, biscuits. And this is all in hopes, your dad is coming into town. She's got grand plans. Hey, let me just go ahead, beforehand, let me buy the ingredients. Let me make it so easy for him. You know what I'm saying? Make it so easy that he can't say no to cooking for us. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of psycho that she is. She thinks months in advance on this stuff. Oh, maybe your dad, maybe my dad could cook breakfast, she says. Let me go get grits and other perishable items, so that he can cook us breakfast.
Manipulation, some might say.
That's the word. That's really the word that I'm looking for. And she is a master manipulator in the best way possible. Honestly, it's really for the good of the whole family, I guess you could say. Everyone involved loved it. But we wake up, we're all stretching. What a great night's sleep. And Molly's like, yeah, I've got stuff to make breakfast. If you guys want to do that, we could certainly do that. And your dad's like, yeah, that sounds fine. We can do breakfast here. She's like, all right, here's all the ingredients. Here's the grits. Here's the eggs. Here's the stuff for chocolate gravy. I've got stuff for sausage gravy and biscuits. And can you make a cake while you're at it?
But it's okay if not. We could just go get it.
Really, it's no big deal. I can go buy a cake and go buy breakfast. It'll be really expensive, and I've already got all the ingredients purchased here, but really, it's not that big of a deal. And he's like, no, I'd love to. She's like,
okay,
awesome.
Can we eat in the next 15 minutes, please?
Awesome. When's it going to be ready? I've actually got something planned in 30 minutes. When can we sit down and eat this?
That is a classic Molly move. And I'm not dogging on Molly. It's just what she
genius.
does. Yeah.
It's not really anything bad. It's genius. Like I said,
you buy the ingredients. What else can you ask for?
Yeah. And like I said, she's put him in a position to where he literally can't say no, or else everyone boos him, you know? Can you imagine? She's like, yeah, he's such a great, cook, baker, patisserie chef, all that good stuff.
Epicurean delighter.
Yes, yes. She says, hey, I went through and I spent a lot of money on these ingredients this week for breakfast. And they're all actually laid out for you downstairs. She's the word we, if we want to make breakfast, like the group as a whole is going to be making breakfast. Can you imagine if he's like, nah, let's go out for breakfast? There'd be a riot, dude. We'd all look at each other and be like, what's going on here, huh? Something's fishy. Something's up with your dad. Because he's never done that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's no doubt about it. But that's not what happened, He did cook the breakfast. He was manipulated.
He took the bait. He took the bait. He just walks into a perfectly clean kitchen that he cleaned the night before. I'll have you know. And there's all the ingredients perfectly laid out. The pots and pans and everything is just perfectly laid out. He's like, something seems fishy here.
And
it's almost like someone was about to cook breakfast and then just didn't.
Here's the thing is, what's I think beautiful about my father is he knows he's being manipulated, yet he does it with such a joyful heart. He's generous, and this isn't just my father, this is my mother too. They're both so generous to us. It's ridiculous. And I've said that before, but it just makes no sense how generous they are. And they know Molly's behind the curtain with her little hands all Evel Knievel type. And they know that it's all part of an orchestrated plan, but they play into it with a joyful heart. And they're excited, and they go even above and beyond. And maybe they're trying to manipulate Molly into feeling bad because they're being so nice. If that's even possible to manipulate Molly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible, but if they are, I'll say this, they're playing the long game, and it's going to work eventually. I'll say that. Eventually, she's going to feel indebted to them. Probably, I mean, really, if you think about it, they're playing the long game in such a way that whenever they're super old and your dad needs a bath,
Yeah, or a diaper change. I mean,
when he's like, yo, come get me off the toilet.
That'll be happening, 4 years for them?
It's pretty close. They're already senior citizens, man. And I'm sad to talk about, but
you gotta
truth
get your
hurts, in
discounts
the words of Lizzo.
And let me tell you, you said something fascinating there for a moment. You said something to the effect of, they're playing the long game. I've lost my train of thought. It was going to be a good point. But I've got nothing. Dadgummit.
It's okay. It's late. It's okay. But yeah, no, they really are. They're playing the long game. They know, look, in the same way that she has prepared all these ingredients for your father to cook breakfast, one day she's gonna come over and your dad's gonna be on the toilet or something like that. And this is he's been sitting on the toilet for like 3 hours waiting for her to come over. This is him preparing the ingredients for breakfast. He's like, what, you're going to say no? Huh? You're not going to help me off the toilet after all the breakfasts I made you? You manipulated me, or so you thought, into me cooking you breakfast. And here I am, and you won't even do anything with me. Unbelievable. That's just a scenario I made up in my mind. But look, it's very possible to happen.
That's a pretty powerful scenario, I remembered what it was. You said someday Molly will feel indebted to her parents. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of every child because I know there's some not great parental relationships between their children and their parents. However, I want us to ponder and take a moment to reflect on what all it takes for someone to birth, for someone to raise, for someone to parent a child. I'm under the belief that we should always feel indebted to our parents. And it's because I think behind giving your life to Christ and getting married, it's the third most selfless act one can do. And you may be wondering, how is getting married selfless? Because marriage is a beautiful thing. But I would say it's selfless because you are not the primary decision maker. And get this, if both partners believe they are not the primary decision maker, well, that creates great collaboration and open communication. Anyway, but you're not living. The whole purpose of those three things is you're not living for yourself. Ultimately, you're living for the Lord. Right? And that's in effect going to create a selfless nature relationship in your marriage. And then to bring another kid in is just another act. So what I'm saying is parents sacrifice a lot. Parents sacrifice, number 1, time, number 2, finances, number 3, freedom to raise a child and make a disciple. And so to all of those children, if you are a child of someone and you're listening to this podcast, which, just to let you know, that would be everybody. Think about your parents or parent or a parental guardian or a father or mother figure in your life that sacrificed for you. You know, I'm thinking about my parents right now. I'm thinking about my grandparents right now. You know, some of my grandparents I didn't meet. Does that mean they sacrificed more or less for me? Maybe on a practical scale, but on a metaphorical scale, no. And so the parenting is beautiful sacrifice. And that's my word on parenting.
I think you got it spot on, dude. And I'm going through my mind, and whenever you got a young son, you know, and you get to watch him, and sometimes he's not in the best mood because he's got some teeth coming in. And you know, as a child, you did the same thing. You know, we've all got teeth, me and you at least. And those teeth had to come through our gums, and we were upset whenever it did that. And you're like, man, my parents had to deal with the same thing. And I mean, Stetson's the sweetest boy on the face of the earth, so I know I was probably worse than him. And you think, wow, the patience that they must have had with me, you know. We're getting to the point where Stetson, he loves playing with us, giving us hugs, being held by us. And every once in a while, he'll kind of scooch down, get away from us, and he'll go like play across the room independently, you know? He's like, here, let me go play with my Legos or my dump truck. And you're like, hey, bud, you okay over there? And he just like kind of turns his head, doesn't make eye contact. And he's just, and I'm like, oh, okay, okay. He is. I mean,
He's
this isn't really
preparing
manipulation,
breakfast. He
right?
is.
He's not. I mean, this isn't really manipulation, but at some point you're going to have to prepare the proverbial breakfast because he's laying out the ingredients right there.
Yeah.
And look, it's. I mean, in the same way that your dad makes breakfast, you're like, look, I love you. I love you, son. I'm not going to let you sit and poop. So you do your thing over there. You don't have to look me in the eye while you do it. I prefer that you didn't actually. And when you're done, come over here, and I'll give you a sniff and make sure that you're ready. So I will say there's been several times where Molly will pick him up. He clearly smells like poop, and I'm across the room. She's like, "Hey, can you come smell him?" I'm like, "You could just tell me if he's poopy." She's like, "Nah, I need you to come smell him and make sure." I get within like 2 feet. I'm like, yeah, he's pooped. Why did I need to smell this? And there's other times where he's not poopy. He just, cracked a rat, so to speak. And I'll get up close and I'll notice that, it's not poop. It's just a little squeaker. And I'll kind of mess with Molly and I'll stick my nose right up to his, like basically in his butt crack and just go and just take the biggest whiff because we keep his bottom clean. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's, an adult that I'm sniffing his rear end. It's a tiny little baby and he's got a clean booty most of the time. So it's kind of a fun little trick that I like to play, but it is interesting from childhood and him, preparing that breakfast or me preparing the breakfast to your dad preparing the breakfast when he's over, visiting. And then eventually, Molly's going to have to prepare the breakfast when your dad can't wipe himself.
Yeah. I mean, a real circle of life there. And
they don't sing about that in The Lion King.
We can't live without breakfast. We just can't. You're going to have breakfast at some point. And when that point comes, you're going to need someone or something. And so there's plenty of illustrations to draw, and we could be here for about 4 hours as we draw them. But I just think manipulation, there is a human responsibility, right? Because manipulation in part is just learned behavior. Because, well, think about kids. What are they going to do? Their learned behavior is, this is assuming, I won't even say, this isn't even a bad thing. They don't know better. Maybe they do. They probably do to some extent. But if I cry, it usually means I get something. But the reason I first cried was because I needed something. And then you begin to learn these things like, oh, if I cry or if I say, give me a word, breakfast. If I say breakfast, that is usually associated with something that I receive. Right? So thinking along this learned behavior and manipulation, we have to be careful, my friends, about what we find ourselves involuntarily now expecting when we think and desire something. Are we expecting the world to revolve around us? And I think that's a trap we can fall into. We think we can have breakfast at any point in our lives. But it's important that we see that our other brothers and sisters have breakfast before we do. And if we're willing to sacrificially prepare breakfast for our friends, our family, our neighbors and coworkers, a stranger across the street, a man named Fred, You have to be ready to deliver. You have to be willing to sacrifice your breakfast, is what I'm trying to say.
And that's the
Sometimes I
most
get
important meal of the
passionate.
day. You know what I mean? You got to keep the grits in your back pocket, so to speak. And you got to be ready to serve them up whenever the time's called, you know?
Yeah, and it's not eating Minute Maid grits. They need to be your best.
Slow burning. Work those bad boys on the stovetop for 20, 30 minutes. Salt, pepper. You know, I'm assuming there's some sort of dairy involved as well. I've never made them myself. But yeah, it's
And I will just clarify, if Minute Maid grits are your best, then give them. I don't want to step on any toes. Right? Sometimes Minute Maid grits are all that we can afford. And that's okay.
for sure. For sure. There's a story in the Bible about a guy who goes and sells half his land and gives it to the church, and he's thinking he's all high and mighty, and then this widow gives two little pennies, you know, but that's all that she had. And you see the faith and the sacrifice is greater on her part than on the first dude's part. So if all you have is instant grits, then give instant grits. And maybe, you know, you can dress them up with some chives or something like, you know, something cheap like that. But yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yes. If all you have are 4-hour grits, I'll just stop expounding on it because I think we've covered it pretty well. But breakfast, man.
Oh, breakfast. But yeah, that was breakfast. After that, what did we do Saturday? We went, Saturday was a little chill. I thought we were going to do a lot more on Saturday. I'll be honest, but it was a fun day regardless. We went for a walk. We went and, you know, it's kind of interesting whenever you go for a walk with like 7 people because you looks more like a riot or some sort of protest is going on than like just a casual walk, you know?
A posse.
You're just
Well, it also doesn't
posse.
help that we were holding cardboard signs.
Right. Yeah, I think posse is probably the best word to describe it, honestly. I got my gang together. We had the cardboard signs. We're pushing the stroller. People were looking at us weird, but look, maybe that's because the sign said raise the HOA fee, you know? It's an unpopular belief, but
We got to
I'm trying
value the land at some point.
Gotta value the land. I'm trying to gain favor with the HOA so that I can kind of squirrel my way in, you know, maybe in 4 or 5 years, once again, playing the long game. I want to be at the top. I want to be who's someone at the top, you know?
President.
I want to be king of the castle of this
And
HOA.
I'll tell you, I've never met a president of HOA who didn't love what they do.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much a
and
100% success rate.
1,000%. And I think Grammy has really set an incredible precedent as far as what a president looks like. You know, I'm going to be honest. She rules with an iron fist. Have you ever heard her on the phone with some of the residents?
Oh, she is talented.
She's sitting there on that couch. She's got her legs crossed. Her feet don't hit the floor. She's like, well, you know, David, that was your tree that fell down. That wasn't the HOA's tree. Let's just say we didn't plant that tree. Okay. That's the tree that you planted there 15 years ago. Then the tornado came through and it took it through Susan's window. So, David, unfortunately, the HOA will not be covering these fees, nor will insurance. I'm calling the insurance company and I'm telling them not to cover anything because You deserve to pay this. David's like, please, please, please don't ruin my life. She's like, David, you planted the tree, man, in honor of your late wife. But look, the tree went through Susan's front window. Okay, doesn't matter. It was a tornado. You're the one that planted it. Pay up, and she gets 5% interest on top of that. She's getting kickbacks from the window company. It's unbelievable. I mean, lucrative and just ruling with an iron fist. It's amazing. Honestly, it's incredible what she does.
Yeah, that's an act of God. David could claim it on his insurance, his tree insurance.
Right. Force majeure, whatever that means.
Also known as major force.
Yeah. I think it's French. But yeah, Saturday we went at our kind of community area. It's like a clubhouse type deal. There's a putting green, so me and you had a little face off, a little chip putt competition. A lot of the little kids do like drive, chip, and putt, but we just did chip and putt because I think if we pulled drivers out, we'd probably get kicked out. But it went to a tiebreaker. We went for about 30 minutes and we were neck and neck there. And I'll kind of set up the scenario. The green is a peanut shape, right? And we're at the bottom, let's call it the bottom of the green. And it's got this decent little slope in the middle. And then at the top, there's a nice plateau where there's a pin up there, obviously, and a hole. And so we say, look, tiebreaker, we each get one shot because previously we were doing 3 shots, take the best ball and put it in. We say, look, we get one shot. Bo had won the previous one, so he said, I'd like you to go first. So I'm thinking, golly, what's my option here? I could play like an old geezer and I could bump and run for the high percentage play here. Or I could be really, really cool and flop it, land it up right next to the cup. Low percentage shot, but if you hit it, it looks awesome, right? And that's what I'm here for. So I say, all right, let me open the club face a little bit, flop it up there, take it top shelf, as they say. And on a flop shot, you've really got to commit to it. Open the face, like I said, and you got to swing. I mean, this isn't chipping anymore. This is 90% back, 90% through. And you just flop it up there. Like I said, a lot of spin, a lot of height on the ball. And so I rear back, man, and I blade that thing, dude. And it bounces around and almost goes in the pool, which is about probably 60 yards behind the putting green. And then, Bo, you, of course, proceed to bump and run about 3 feet away from the cup and kind of tap in for the win there. So it was unfortunate. I lost, obviously, but really, I had such a good time. It was a blast. We were cutting up. It was just the two of us out there. Yeah, it was really, really fun.
I'm going to echo everything you just said. I'll say this. I haven't hit a flop shot from the fringe or probably even within 20 yards of the green in probably 10 years. So I have some experience with the old bump and run because those are the only shots I hit around the green because that's what works best for me. And keyword, for me. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer, but sometimes I fail. Sometimes I fail miserably. But I should be better than what I am. I'll say that much.
But on this particular day, I almost say gay there. On this particular day, you got the dub. So that's all that matters, right?
Well, is winning all that matters?
Yeah, it is.
Nah. Well, then in that case, yes.
Oh, gracious. Um, yeah, that was like 30 minutes before y'all had to leave. So your parents left. Molly took them to the airport. Um, you guys left the same time that your parents left. Molly took Stetson with your parents to the airport. And I was just sitting in my house, 20 minutes ago. There's 9 people in here running around. We're zipping screws in the wall, hanging pictures. And now it's dead silent. And I'm the only one here. And it's a little sad. So those were just my feelings a little bit. But on the way out the door, Molly says, "Hey, I need you to hang everything in Stetson's room," which is like 6 pictures and shelves and things like that. So I said, okay. Once again, she's really set it up. She's like, I got them set in the right place. Just need you to, do the measurements and put the screws in the walls. It's like, dadgummit, she's done it again, man. Starting with breakfast, she was batting 1,000 on Saturday. I'm not gonna lie, she was on her game. But yeah, and then Sunday morning we served in the nursery this morning, and then went to our Sunday school class after that. We went through Genesis 4. Missed last week, Genesis 3, the fall. Obviously, kind of maybe not even a low point in human history, but at that point, it was certainly the lowest point in human history. But chapter 4 is Cain and Abel. That one didn't really end up too good either. So, but you just look throughout all of human history, and it just you look at chapter 3 in the fall, and everything after that is just an absolute spiral, just a total spiral. And yet you see, after the fall, God says, he's walking through the garden, and he says, "Hey, Adam, Eve, where are y'all at?" I think that's exactly how he said it. He's like, "Where are y'all?" And they're like, "Hey, we were naked. We had to make clothes because we were naked." He's like, "Who told you were naked?" Obviously, he's omnipotent. He's omniscient. He knows exactly what's happened. But you see him ask the question and give them a chance to fess up. He gives us a chance to come back to him immediately. And then you look at Cain and Abel, and after he's murdered, God's like, "Hey, where's your brother, dude?" He's like, "I don't know, man. I guess he's out in the field, maybe behind the barn. I haven't seen him in like 20 minutes, Doesn't fess up, makes excuses. And that's something we all do in our own lives, whenever we mess up. But I think an important thing there is like, look, the moment you mess up, God knows. He knows before you've even messed up, right? But he's always there asking the question, "Hey, what's going on?" He doesn't immediately banish us. He doesn't immediately punish us. He gives us the opportunity to repent and come back to him. And so that was really kind of my takeaway from Genesis 4. There was a lot of other points, but that was kind of the connection that I drew between those 2 chapters.
That's beautiful. That's awesome.
But that was my week. And now, here we are.
Yeah, that's a great week. You don't work for the weekend. I think there's something beautiful about enjoying your job and finding purpose in it. We've kind of talked about that a little bit. Is how does a construction management guy find purpose in their job? How does a physical therapist find purpose in their job? How does a telemarketer find purpose in their job? And I think that's how we don't work for the weekend, because if we're working for money, money's going to run out. Let's just be honest with each other. Your life, you can have a great life with a lot of money. but you can't have a fulfilling life. At some point, money is just money. And ask any billionaire, why have billionaires not stopped trying to make more money? Because they're never fulfilled. Now, have I asked billionaires that question? No. But is it just human nature? Why do great athletes never stop trying to get better? Because they're never fulfilled. And so, don't work for the weekend, my friends. That's the point. Find purpose. Associate your work with a person. You know what I'm saying here?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Thank you for that endorsement and confirmation. Allow me to drive us into our week. My week. Monday, pickleball. Bo Burton, it could very well be the last time I see him until November of 2024, where we volunteer at the Savage Race in Dade City. Shout out Bo Burton. Shout out Savage Race. Challenge to the Quite Frankly podcast fans and listeners. We need to sign up for this Savage Race. Wouldn't it be fun if all of us ran it together? I mean, if we got all 156,543 of us to go together, that would be absolutely insane. Let's plan on that. Dade City Market, November 2024. But I'll be honest, I met Bo at pickleball. I said goodbye to Bo at pickleball, and it was sad. There's no way around that. And I'm clinging to the day in which I see him once more. He actually spent some time around your neck of the woods, St. Petersburg. I didn't ask him if he had your world-famous donuts, but I'm also going to St. Petersburg in May, pretty soon here. So I'll have to drop by and get some donuts, and maybe we can do a little taste test then. But that was Monday. It was great. I mean, absolutely phenomenal day. And as we've previously discussed, I was in Sarasota on Friday. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means I'm not going to pickleball with Connor on Friday. And what do we do after pickleball? Well, we get that cream jalapeno. And so where do we go on Monday after pickleball? Well, we go get that cream jalapeno. Small chicken tortilla soup as it comes, cup of water. Don't stop refilling the chips. I mean, we close that place down. Now, frankly, Chewy's closes at 9, which I think we should instill a policy that says for the gentlemen that they should stay open until 10 p.m. so we can continue to fellowship around chips. I'm telling you, man, it's one of the special moments. It's one of those special moments. Tuesday's life group. Let me just take a moment to share about our life group. I love our life group. Life group is like a small group Bible study, where ideally we're doing life with each other continually. It's not just stuck on a Tuesday where you're spending time with each other, because then it would just be a Bible study. But we want to be a conglomerate, a posse. We want to wake up, prepare each other's breakfasts, and go on a walk with cardboard signs. And so, man, what a beautiful group. It's exciting. Wednesday, I gather with my boy David Leonard, and we hit the Waffle House All-Star Special. All right? You don't get better. Except inflation hit the All-Star. Inflation, my
It
friends.
hit it hard.
It used to be $7.85, and now it's $13.75. I mean, I've never seen something more pitiful in my life, and yet somehow they still get me to purchase it every single time. And that is true seller market. I mean, the supply's not even low. They're not running low on supply, and the demand's always up. So you can charge as much as you want, and people are still buying it because there's people in this world that cannot go to the Waffle House and not order the All-Star Special. I mean, if you surveyed people who went to Waffle House 4 times a year, I'm willing to bet 75% of those people would say, I order the All-Star Special every single time.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, I went to a Waffle House before Josiah's wedding, and they were like looking at the menu. They were ordering like patty melts. I was like, what the heck is wrong with you? I didn't even look at the menu. All-Star Special, egg scrambled with grits, please. Toast, white toast, that is, and a regular waffle. Water to drink, por favor. It's that easy, you know?
That'll be $18.
Yeah. I'm like, freak, man. Back in the high school days, it
They
was
actually have
$7.99.
one sausage patty, please.
Oh yeah, I forgot the meat as well. But it's a shame. It's a crying shame.
But it was an excellent time. I'll tell you that much. It's just, whenever you can do it, I mean, they're going to take your money. It's the business, and you got to respect it. Don't go if you don't want to participate. And that's the other funny thing. We complain about inflation, yet we buy inflated things all the time. You know, no one's out here buying deflated pools.
That's an excellent point. I've never heard it, but you need to be on every talk show in America talking about this.
It's important. We got to put things into perspective. I mean, if we actually didn't want to buy it and wanted to make a stand against inflation, just don't buy it, my friends. Simple as that. Grow a garden. Call it a day.
Community garden. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Nothing better than spending time with the folks in your community, building and cultivating something that's, 1, a garden, and 2, relationship. Goodness gracious, there's a reason. There is a reason that it's beautiful.
Yeah. I think it could also be a serious opportunity to, kind of introduce a little gospel narrative as well. Hey, this garden, it kind of reminds me of the Garden of Eden, Yeah. Maybe we should all take our clothes off. And that's when it derails.
That's when the community garden
out of the garden
needs a 24/7 police officer there.
100%.
A keeper of the grounds, if you will.
Yeah.
But what a pickup line. Slightly illegal, but if it were to work, it would be absolutely hilarious.
Little forward, but again, might work. It's worth the shot.
Bold.
It's always worth the shot.
You heard that advice from Brett Walters. Let's be clear. So if you get arrested, leave my name out of it, please. But that was Wednesday, Waffle House. How we got to community gardens, that's just beautiful. It's all takes us back to the garden. Everything takes us back to the garden. Talk to him. Thursday rolls around. Thursday there was something. There was something that I did Thursday abnormal. Yes, I know. I drove to Sarasota. That's what I did on Thursday. That was great. Friday, we've kind of covered what we did on Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, we had church here in Gainesville at Westside. where we're studying, where we're in Wilderness U, actually. Much like you're in Genesis in your Bible study, we're in Exodus at church. We're just walking through right now. We're seeing how Moses and the Israelite people are going up the mountain. And what we're going to ultimately see is how the house of the Lord is built. But this was pointing out that how did Moses even get to the mountain? He wouldn't even go to the mountain unless God was a part of it in the first place. He wouldn't even know that he needed to get to the mountain. And then to get up the mountain, well, getting to the mountain requires God's grace. God's grace brings God down the mountain to meet with Moses, and God's grace also brings Moses able to go up the mountain. Everything points back to the grace of the Lord Christ Jesus. You kind of mentioned it is what God gives them an opportunity. God gives us an opportunity to turn, and he continually gives us an opportunity to turn from our wicked and evil, sinful ways. And we're all sinful, we're all wicked, and we're all evil. Let's just say that. You could be the best person in the world and you'd still be evil and wicked. It's just a fact. And so I think in those moments you're doing great things, you're making great money, you're impacting lives. I think you could have a serious battle of fulfillment. I think there's a false sense of hope and fulfillment in there that would not mark you, but rather you wouldn't realize your need for Christ Jesus. Right? And so at the same time, God is up on the mountain bringing people to the mountain and up the mountain. We've got to realize that at a point in our lives, we were not even at ground level of the mountain. You know, when we think about Jesus on the cross and we see the people at his feet weeping and mourning, and we see that is so, being at the feet of Jesus is so much higher than we should ever be. We should even ever have an opportunity to be. But because of the grace of Jesus, we can even approach that mountain. And because of the love of Jesus, we can be at the right hand, not the right hand, Jesus is at the right hand of the Father. We are heirs to the throne. I don't know if I said that right. It's a little late. What I'm trying to say here is that the love, the grace, and the mercy of Jesus and God is incomprehensible. It makes no sense. Much like the sacrifice of a parent, the ultimate sacrifice of the Father was to send his Son. The most selfless act in human history was to die on a cross for what now would be the brothers and sisters. It's unbelievable, yet powerful. A beautiful sacrifice.
I love it.
Now, what's for breakfast, my friends? This is the question we must ask. What are we preparing? Well, what's your song of the week?
I was going to say the breakfast that I'm preparing is chocolate chip cookies. Because Jackson made some chocolate chip cookies and I forgot to give him a shout out, but it was an incredible batch of cookies. I will say we were up there building the daybed on Friday night, and you kind of get this smell. Oh, it smells like cookies. I guess they're out of the oven. But apparently, what was transpiring downstairs was Jackson made cookies from scratch. We appreciate that, and we love that, and we cherish him for that. But your dad, being all knowing in the kitchen, he's kind of smelling. He's like, "Hey, bud, you might want to check on those cookies because I can smell them, and I think they're probably done." And Jackson goes, "You don't know what you're talking about." Bah. I can't confirm that was exactly what he said, but that's what I have in my mind. Kind of burned the first set of cookies. A little sad, not going to lie. We just chopped them up and put them in ice cream, frankly. But then he did the second batch of cookies, cooked them for like 4 minutes less, and they were so good. So good. So kudos to Jackson on the chocolate chip cookies. They were excellent. And he also got some Bluebell ice cream to go with them. So that's a combo that really will never be beaten. So, but really my song of the week is by Dwight Yoakam. He's, I don't want to call him an old country artist, but he's certainly dated, from my parents' time. I don't know about your parents' time. But the song is called Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., etc. So that's a good one. It's an absolute classic. I believe it's his most popular song that he has, but that one's it'll want to get you, you'll want to slip on your cowboy boots and go kind of prance around the house a little bit. So how about you?
Yeah, that's awesome. My song is called Fully Yours by KXC, Rich and Lydia Dykes. I've never heard of any of those people, but I listened to this album and they got, the song, the sound, the music, the lyrics, all of it's incredible. So Fully Yours by KXC, Rich and Lydia Dykes. We listened to it on the car ride to Sarasota, and boy, oh boy, it was absolutely powerful. So, well, you have any words of wisdoms as we close our time together? Again, listeners, if you aren't subscribed to our subscriber-only content, you need to do that. Also, shout out to AHC again, just for being who they are.
Amen.
And
Amen.
They're throwing together this golf memorial tournament for us, so we're getting excited for that.
I believe
Mid-May. How do you sign up for that exactly? Or are they coming out with instructions?
Yeah, I think they're going to come out with like a link online to where you can sign up for that. And I believe me and Bo, we did this past weekend. We'll do as kind of a part one for the subscriber only. And then we'll have, we'll get together again in mid-May and we'll kind of do this tournament or rather this memorial scramble. And we'll do that as kind of a part two. And like you said, we didn't get to do the donut taste test last time. So hoping to squeeze that one in on this one as well. And, maybe some extra content in there as well. So stay tuned. Part one, really hope you guys enjoy it. And part two next month is going to be even better. I promise that.
Absolutely. It's exciting stuff. And well, any words of wisdom, any words of non-wisdom that you'd like to share? Final thoughts?
No words of wisdom. Just, subscribe, buy some merch. Honestly, merch sales really do help us out a ton. So we've got some great stuff. It's not the numbers that matter, it's the ratios. We've got all sorts of cool sayings and slogans on there. So go check it out. There's different colors, different styles, hoodie, t-shirt, tank top, sunglasses, bandanas for your dog, things like that. So go check it out and purchase some merch.
I second that statement. And finally, if you're able to review us on your listening platform or subscribe to us on your listening platform, please do so. It helps more than you know. It boosts us in the rankings. It allows for people to find us. And if your life's been transformed by this podcast, you need to share that with us because we want to come alongside of you and celebrate that. And we also want to celebrate that with our listeners because, once again, word of mouth testimonials are the most powerful marketing tool in the world. And so, if your life hasn't been changed by it, then be honest. Don't review us at all, okay? But if it has, we would love to know, and we would love to celebrate. And so, one of the ways we celebrate is by coming together every 7 days because we love you deeply and generously, and we're going to see you in 7 days.